I really felt called when I worked on my sermon this week to dive into Ecclesiastes a little bit more. And King Solomon is certainly an incredible character in the Bible and certainly worth further study. Probably most likely he will have experienced life more fully than anyone in this congregation. More wealth, more servants, more authority, more responsibility. A king, revered, experimenting with wisdom and folly, drunkenness and sobriety, testing the waters of having as much of anything he desires. An Old Testament version of a modern day Hugh Hefner, but even on a much larger scale. And he realizes through all of his searching that there is no true satisfaction in hard work or playtime, that true ultimate satisfaction comes from God, or more so a relationship with God. He realizes that all he tries to achieve is like chasing the wind. At some point, all his efforts will be futile because all he worked for will be given to his heirs. Now, I don't know about you, but that really bothered me because if I had any children, I would love to give my inheritance to my heirs. But we're talking about King Solomon, and who knows how many heirs he had with all the concubines he had. In other words, he realized that, to coin an old cliche, he can't take it with him. And so he writes the verses that the musical group The Byrds in the 1960s made famous. From chapter 3. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. End quote. These verses are frequently used for memorial services because they sum up all of life. The ups and downs, the joys and the sorrows, the oppositions of life and death, here and there. But yet in all actuality, the life we think we understand here on earth, we really don't. We have no clue how many stars are in the sky, or how many grains of sand are on the beaches. And possibly even our greatest fear as we age is, how long will we be here on earth? What will take us home? What will our legacy be? We return to the question, where does the wind come from? Nobody knows but God. Not even the highest paid, most experienced meteorologists. The weather forecast expert is really just trying to make sense of it all by tracking past events. But nature can be unpredictable. So in all the meteorologists' calculations, the results may at times be futile. And so we return to Solomon. We return to Ecclesiastes. We return to the mystery of life itself. We return to existentialism. We return to God. For without God, life has no meaning or purpose. God has purpose. God makes the rivers to run to the oceans, yet the oceans do not overflow. Generations come and generations go, but the earth continues to revolve. Solomon said to himself how he acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before him, and how his mind had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. and he applied his mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. But he perceived that this also was but chasing after the wind. Solomon made a test of pleasure and enjoyed himself. He tested what it would be like to drink and become merry by indulging himself in as much alcohol as he desired, but found that this did not bring him joy or satisfaction in the long run. He built houses and parks, planted vineyards and gardens with all kinds of fruit trees. He had slaves and amassed great flocks of sheep and great herds of cattle, more than any king in all of Jerusalem. He acquired massive amounts of silver and gold. He had his own singers, and he indulged himself with many concubines. Whatever his eyes beheld was his for the taking. Whatever material possession he desired was his. He even experimented with hard work in order to find accomplishment and satisfaction in it. He found pleasure in it, as many of us do. And then he realized again that all that hard work and all those earthly pleasures were vanity, and all will be swept away from him in his final hour and be given to someone else who did not work hard to achieve it. As he came to this conclusion, he began to hate life and resented all the time that he had worked so hard for something he could not keep forever. And then he had a huge change of heart and realized that his work was something he loved and enjoyed when he refocused his thoughts on eating and drinking and labor as a gift from God. The spiritual masters learned this lesson. To think of all that we do as a gift from God, whether it's washing the dishes, or washing the car, or doing the laundry. These are all blessings from God. When you think about it, the dishes themselves are a blessing, especially when compared to those who are homeless. The car is certainly a luxury, especially to those living in the villages of Liberia, where gas stations are few and far between and mechanics are almost non-existent. It's almost impossible to find parts when your car breaks down. And roads are practically non-existent. They're mostly dirt and mud during the rainy season. And then during the dry season, the mud just becomes deep, deep ruts. No paved roads at all. And doing the laundry means that we have clothes to wear, actually more than one outfit. Actually, for some of us, more than one closet full. For most of us, we have summer clothes and spring clothes and winter clothes, and I have to admit I have a summer closet and a winter closet in which I interchange warm and cold weather clothing, which many of us do. A roof that needs repair is a roof over our head. An electric bill that needs to be paid means that we have lights in our home and air conditioning to make us comfortable. We may compare our status with people who have more wealth than us or with people who are less fortunate. But God's love for us is not measured by our status. God's love for us goes beyond measure. And so pleasing God brings us joy. Since God is the author of love and the provider of joy, Solomon discovered that wisdom excels folly as light excels darkness. Those who are wise walk in the light, but the foolish walk in darkness. We can observe this by walking into a dark room and turning on the light. The room changes from dark to light because the light overtakes it. If we walk into a room that is well lit, there is no device that will overtake the light. We can hide the light or cover the light just as we can hide our spiritual light if we don't share that light, the Word of God, by sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Solomon further contemplated beyond the existence of light overtaking the dark by examining the existence of time. Solomon states, he, meaning God, has made everything suitable for its time. Moreover, he has put a sense of past and future into their minds, that they cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. Solomon continues, I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Moreover, it is God's gift that all should eat and drink and take pleasure in all their toil. I know that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done this so that all should stand in awe before him. That which is already has been. That which is to be already is. And God seeks out what has gone by. End quote. Solomon is actually exploring the time-space continuum. Einstein explored the concept of time being relative depending on our perspective, and whether observers of time were either moving relative to each other or differently depending on their proximity to gravitational mass. We don't have to be as smart as Einstein to know that a watched pot never boils. Those of us who are more advanced in age know that the days, months, and years fly by much faster than they did when we were 6, waiting to celebrate our birthday the next month, or waiting to leave for vacation when we were 10 in a week, or being 12 and waiting until we could drive. And yet we can jump through time in an instant as we recollect events from the past. The musical group Kansas wrote the song Dust in the Wind as they reflect. I close my eyes, only for a moment, and the moment's gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes, a curiosity. Dust in the wind. All they are is dust in the wind. Same old song, just a drop of water in an endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, though we refuse to see. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Now don't hang on, nothing lasts forever but the earth and sky. It slips away, and all your money won't another minute buy. Dust in the wind. All we are is dust in the wind. Dust in the wind. Everything is dust in the wind. End quote. How many of you were singing that as I chanted the word? Yeah. Awesome. Our entire lifetime is but a split second in God's time frame. God already knows the future, as Jesus demonstrated in conversations he had while he was here on this great planet Earth. We will never, ever completely understand God while we are in human form. Trying to do so is probably like chasing the wind. But it is admittedly rewarding to do so. After all, we are dust in the wind for now. But in heaven, a much different story. To God be the glory. Amen.